Copyright and other intellectual property rights are what allow people to make money in the music industry. Without somebody owning the rights to the lyrics and music, then there will be nothing to exploit and sell. People could just copy and use whatever they wanted without having to pay. Recently, the law on copyright has been updated, and now an artist will keep the rights to his work 70 years after his death. Before, the artist only kept the rights up for up to 50 years. It is, however, worth being aware that the rules on copyright, including rules on who owns it and how it can be dealt with and how long it lasts, vary from country to country. So, for example, you shouldn't assume that public performance and mechanical income for songwriters if publishers and other copyright owners were responsible for responding to each and every license request from record companies, broadcasters, and public venues, to name but a few. Then their businesses would rapidly grind to a halt under the administrative burden. As a result, they rely on the service of collecting societies to grant licenses on their behalf and to collect and distribute the resulting royalties. Two key UK societies in the licensing of rights in music and lyrics are the MCPS, Mechanical Copyright Protection Society, and the PRS, the Performing Rights Society. Together they have formed the MCPS-PRS Alliance in 1997 and now have adopted the name PRS for music. Additionally, publishers insisted on controlling songs for the full term of copyright. Nowadays, many publishers accept the fact that they will only control the rights for a period of time during which you are obliged to write for them, and an additional number of years, which in practice is really less than 15 years unless you are in a very strong position, and 25 years is relatively common. It's worth trying to limit the period to a number of years from the end of the songwriting period if you can. The publishing industry is dominated by four majors, namely Warner/Chappell, Universal, Sony ATV, and EMI. Whilst the majors have a global presence, many of the independent publishers rely on establishing relationships with local publishers in overseas territories. When considering signing worldwide rights to an independent publisher, it is worth investigating whether they have an established sub-publishing network in the key overseas territory. Each publisher will usually have its own tried and tested form of contract. Your ability to negotiate changes their contract will depend to a large extent on your bargaining power. At first sight, the publishing contract can appear intimidating, so it's definitely worth taking a specialist advice before signing. You will be entitled to the income even if you have assigned all other rights to a record company. The easiest way to collect the income is to assign the rights to a collecting society to enable them to collect the income for you. Many other countries, including the EU member states, provide for similar forms of remuneration in relation to public performance. In some countries, you as a performer are also entitled to share a blank tape levies. These sources of income may be worth investigating if records are being played overseas. In the UK, this income is collected in the first instance by Phonographic Performance Limited, PPL. This is the body which has traditionally collected performance income on behalf of the recording companies. It now divides the income it receives on a 50-50 basis between the performing artists, both featured and the session musicians, and the record companies. PPL deals with the administration of performers' rights in the UK and now provides a centralised body for both performers and record companies to collect both UK broadcast and public performance revenues, and also equivalent overseas revenues from equivalent societies in other territories with which PPL has entered into a reciprocal deal. Ensure that your music is ready to be sold to fans. You may or may not be able to negotiate a distribution deal with a record distributor for digital and or physical releases, but in any case, the first step should always be to make your music available for paid download online. When collecting email addresses and other personal details, as there are various data protection laws that you should be aware of. Also, the law relating to the internet and websites is voluminous. You should avoid having anything on your site which could get you into trouble. Slagging off other bands may seem like fun, but potentially could end in a libel claim if it all becomes so serious. You should also avoid using any unauthorized artwork, images or music.